Let's stick with masks for a minute now and turn to a guest who always cuts to the chase for us, and that's Matt Taibbi, Substack writer and podcast host. Matt, let me start with a question for you. Let's just say you had a wedding to go to this weekend, 300 people going to be there. You wearing a mask?
At this point, probably not. I mean, I'm vaccinated. I think the problem that I see with this return to a mandate is who exactly are they thinking about protecting with these new mandates? If the people who are vaccinated, at worst, they're going to get mild symptoms probably. And the people who are not vaccinated, they've already made a significant choice, to not get the vaccine. So if the idea is to protect them, I don't really understand what the idea is here. And at some point, there's a limit to what the government can do to force people to make these decisions. And ultimately, I think this becomes an incoherent and off-putting strategy.
That is sort of where we are at this point, is it not, Matt, where you're talking about government mandates versus personal responsibility, personal freedom, whatever you want to call it?
Well, right. And again, with all due respect to the mayor of Torrance who you just had on, he talked about how, well, they're not going to enforce the new mandate. We're going to essentially go in an honor system with the mask mandate, but we're already doing that with the vaccine, which is significantly more important. So what are we really talking about here? I think ultimately this issue has gotten so politicized. It's become much about sort of virtue signaling and sides taking as it is about real medicine and real policy, I think, at this point.
It feels to me like we're at a point, Matt, where we all know where we are, and it's up to us. We've made the decision. You either get the vaccine or you wear the mask. And if you don't, then it's on you. As selfish as that sounds, to your point, it seems like this is up to individuals to make the decision that they in the end want and suffer the consequences if they don't.
Well, right. And I think that's where the debate right now, it's between people who believe, well, there's a limit to what you can do, what the government can do. At some point, people just make the choices that they make, and you can't force them beyond that. And then there's another group of people who thinks there must be something else that we can do to force people to take that step. And I think at some point, again, people just have to realize there's a limit to how much you can really force people to make these decisions.
So what do you make of the pandemic of the unvaccinated? I think it sounds like, based on our conversation here, you agree with this, because that's these are the folks who are getting sick and who are dying. What are we supposed to do about it if the vaccine is the dead end for the virus and people won't get it?
Well, look, I watched last week as they rolled out that that new slogan, and it was like a professionally crafted PR rollout, the pandemic of the unvaccinated. First, you had President Biden saying it, then the head of the CDC, Jen Psaki, saying it. So clearly they're trying to make a point publicly. They had the Surgeon General do all the rounds in the Sunday shows this past weekend, talking about the same thing. They really want to emphasize politically this idea that any continued problems with the pandemic are the fault of the people who are not getting the vaccine. And my question is, how necessary is that? Is the uptick so drastic that they have to do that kind of campaign? Maybe it is. I don't know. It's an unanswered question in my mind, but clearly politically, that's the idea, is to make the pandemic going forward an issue of fault with people who haven't gotten the vaccine.
Well, because as we said, those are the folks who are getting sick and dying, and also potentially, as I understand it, my limited knowledge on it, to keeping us from herd immunity. I think we're at about 50% of the population fully vaccinated, and we've got a ways to go. And we have a lot of hesitancy out there.
Right, there is. And, I would think that they would probably catch more flies with, honey than with the other way. I think a lot of this with vinegar, the rhetoric, I feel like it's sort of threatening and blaming, and, in conjunction with a lot of other sort of media behavior and political behavior in the last 3 or 4 years, it may even be counterproductive to roll out that kind of message. Again, I don't know what you can really do past telling people what the available evidence suggests. If they're not going to accept it, or if they want to wait for full FDA approval, or if they have some other reasoning that that's important to them, at some point we just have to accept that. I don't think that forcing people or blaming it may have more of a negative impact than they think.
Interesting. Matt Taibbi, it's always great to have your voice. We appreciate it. You find him on Substack and also the host of the Useful Idiots podcast. Good to see you again, Matt.
Thanks a lot, Jeff.